Okay, so the pistol. If you're watching this, I assume you have already watched and done the pistol mobility complex and the active feet complex. Hugely important for developing the ability to do the pistol. You have to have the mobility and flexibility components before you can do it. So for the pistol, the first thing that we work on with people is the knee and feet together squat. This is pretty approachable for most people. One little caveat before we get started, by the way, the pistol requires some amount of spinal flexion in the bottom. If you're flexion intolerant, do not do this exercise. So you're gonna lose the top of my head here when I go up. Sorry, I don't have a better camera angle, but you don't need to see my head when I'm standing. So for the knee and feet together squat, it's as simple as it sounds. You put your feet and your knees together and you squat. Now, the goal here is to not simply just squat, but try to get the knees as far past the toe as possible while keeping the heels down. So you're noticing here, I am rounding my back a bit. I am reaching forward a lot to hit that position. That's completely fine and necessary for the pistol. Now, this is a really good technique that we can use if you have a buddy. You can also practice this on your own if you don't. It is the active negative position, okay? So for the active negative, I gotta grab something behind the camera. I'm gonna lay down on the ground. You can get in your regular squat stance if you have a buddy. They'll put their hands on the top of your feet. If you don't have a buddy like me, you can do it with yourself and use your yoga block. So I'll put the yoga block on top of my feet, and then I'm gonna take my foam roller here and put it against it. So what I'm gonna do here is, I'm going to try to flex my hips, and I'm gonna use the foam roller to resist. So what I'm feeling there is my hip flexors are coming online in a big way to pull that up. What that feels like, this is exactly the same technique as the rowing sensation that we did on the push-up, right? So we want to row ourselves down on a pistol squat. We want to pull ourselves down using our hip flexors, right? So that active negative drill really helps with that, okay? Then we have the one-legged deadlift drill. So a one-legged deadlift is as simple as it sounds. Most people when they first start, I'm gonna use my trusty yoga block again. Most people when they start, they can do a kickstand deadlift. Kickstand deadlift, very simple. I stand with this block where my foot was, and my knee is back here. Then as I hinge down, I can pick it up, right? So one more time, I just replace this foot with the yoga block. This knee is now over it. I reach down, stand up. That's a good place for most people to start. Then we can get into the one-legged deadlift. So I lift my leg back and I reach down. So why do this? It teaches you to grab the floor and how to have active feet and how to balance and cross-body stabilization and all that good stuff. You can also do it on the outside here. This is where most people stay for pretty long periods of time because developing the ability to grab the floor and stay under control, stabilize with the glutes and the obliques does take time. You have to build those muscle groups up and the coordination with all of them to be able to do that. So next we have the airborne lunge, right? Stay on all these techniques, by the way, as long as it takes until you feel very comfortable with the drill, like you could show somebody else how to do it. That's about how long it takes to be able to progress through the pistol. It does take quite a bit of time. The whole time in conjunction, making sure you're working your mobility and your flexibility. And if that's where you're lacking, then you need to spend majority of your time working that. So for the airborne lunge, there is a progression for this. So if you don't have carpet that you're doing it on, you can use something like a yoga block to do this. So starting out, you're just gonna lunge step back. Make sure in any lunge variation you do, your knee is under the hip, which is under the shoulder, and then you're at 90-90 with these, so you don't want to step too far back or too close. So you can take a video of yourself from the side, then make sure you try to squeeze the knees together and then cramp the glutes at the top. Fire the glute of the down leg, or the up leg rather, to squeeze together every single time, okay? So if that one's easy, you got that one locked down. Then we can now point our toes out, similar to how we do our rocking. Now for this, I'm gonna need to add my fists, and I'm gonna reach forward, and I'm really gonna load this front leg. So you don't wanna push off too much with the back leg, okay? All right, third, we can pick the foot up. Now this is gonna be a challenging variation. This is gonna help develop the strength necessary for the pistol. So for this, I'm gonna pick my foot up as I go forward. As you can see from my wobbliness, it is difficult. Difficult drill, but that builds the strength necessary and allows you to feel what the pistol is actually going to feel like. Okay? Now we have controlling the bottom of the pistol. So this is really useful to do. Basically, you'll do a pistol standing on a box and feel yourself holding the bottom of that pistol. This is the next progression that I use. Unfortunately, I have nothing that would resemble a box here. But you can essentially just step up on a box and try to shift over and hold. Another variation is to do it like I'm gonna do it. This is gonna be a little bit more difficult for most people, but it will work for what we're doing here. This would be the next progression up. So after the box progression and feeling out the bottom of the pistol, you do an assisted pistol. So a door frame is usually what people use for this, but for what I'm doing, this is gonna work. So I'm gonna pick this foot up and hold. So this foot is up in the air here. So I'm using the floor and the ledge over here to feel this out. Now, my heel is down, and I want to start exploring the bottom position here of this pistol. Okay, I'll use the ledge over here now. So I'm holding and I'm feeling out what does the bottom feel like of this pistol. You can also keep this leg bent if you want and drive your heel on the ground. That's totally fine, okay? Then we learn the actual pistol itself. The pistol becomes really a hinge more so than a squat. So as I start to initiate my pistol, I have to push my hips way back to get that position, right? So the hinge happens, the hand reaches forward, I'm grabbing the floor with the toes, and then you see the flexibility component in that non-working leg as it drives out. That's the pistol.